and I felt the medicinal benefits immediately.
Wow.
And it really changed my life. And then that was in the 70s when I started smoking Colombian Gold, Panama Red, Thai Stick, Skunk. These were such medicinal strains that I really realized in an early age and right there early in my disability that this was actually helping my recovery more than the pills. So I began preaching right away, talking to my doctors, talking to other patients, saying, try this herb, try this. And I really recognized how it was helping a lot of people's quality of life.
Got a lot of love, yeah, that's for sure. You got music and movies, and friends and medicine. Yeah, is the show for me and you, the one you love to listen to. And ooh, you got your friends, see it through. See, 'cause laughter is medicine too. Said it's medicine too, babe.
Welcome to The Edge Show, your award-winning podcast, sponsored by Caras Healthcare and the Relevant app. And the opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of our producer, A Edge Productions. I'm your co-host, Branden Lee, and here's your host, Wendy Love Edge. How's it going, Wendy?
Hey, everyone. I want to point out that we don't dispense medical advice and all your health choices are your own. This is season 6, episode 13, Quality of Life, Disability, and Cannabis. How are you this week, Branden?
I am doing fantastic. I feel like I'm on top of the world. You know, we won an award from the Black Apple Awards last week and just been on cloud nine. How you doing?
Me too. It's really, it really feels good for the community to vote for us and help bring the show forward a little more. We've been nominated a few times, so I was really pleasantly surprised and excited with our win this time. What a great art community we have, art, music, film, all of it here in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, I feel so lucky to be even named a part of that kind of stuff. And, you know, and as soon as I found out that we won the award, it all goes back to the people that produce and put this stuff together. And Wendy, I know how hard you work with all these interviews and how much time it can consume in a day. And it's pretty amazing what everyone can do. So just really proud of everyone in the whole team and really proud of what you do. I mean, this is the 13th episode. But it's been a lot of seasons, and it's pretty amazing that, you know, and how far you've come and how far the show has.
Thank you so much. And I absolutely agree. This team this season is just absolutely phenomenal. Each season has its own feel, but I really think we've kind of really come into it and assembled the right people, the right creative crew, and a fabulous producer, of course. And shout out to FPTV and to all of the stations that air the show. But you know, really, we started on FPTV, and Dan Robinson and the crew there, you know, taught me and Angela and all of us how to do this. You know,
yeah, well, I call him the doctor for a reason, Dr. Dan.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing that the facilities and things that can really develop all the skills. And we've just been so lucky in our community and look how it grows. I encourage people to go out and try things that you maybe scared of or don't know if you got it all together. Because Wendy, I know you can attest that it takes progress, it takes learning, it takes mistakes.
Yes.
But it takes you starting. And so it's so amazing how far it's come.
Yeah, you know, Angela and I started with a show called the Bulldozer Health Show. It was produced through the nonprofit, I had Bulldozer Health, as this show originally was as well. And anyway, when I look back at those first episodes, I mean, the film, we started actually with only audio. And I started sitting on my bed raving about the healthcare system. And then she would take it and make it into an episode. And then one day we were recording at the Fayetteville Public Library, and she said to me, you know, we could probably do this with film at FPTV, you know, and that's kind of how it all started. And so when I listen and look back at those episodes, I kind of laughed to myself a little bit. I mean,
Yes.
you know, but
And how much you grow, and
Mhm.
that's the thing. It's like I always encourage people that have the thought or a passion to go do what you're doing. You know, you're explaining things that really do affect people's lives and help people. And
Mhm.
someone may have a subject matter or something that they really like to get on a soapbox and talk about. And
Yep.
I encourage you guys to do that and follow those things. And it's just what it is. It's amazing. There's so many people back behind you that that
Mhm.
help out and help produce and make the show what it is. So many awesome guests too.
Yes,
It's
for
been
sure.
incredible how many guests you've been able to scramble up into these shows. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Dan said to me one time, you know, it's awesome when you're bringing in Fayetteville people, but Wendy, you're like opening the world to Fayetteville. You know, bringing
Yeah.
guests from all over the world. Really, I mean, last week
Yes.
was an interview with an expert from Israel. You know, and so it's very exciting that to see the progress. And you know, we're talking about quality of life today. You know, live into your dreams. That's really where the quality comes in.
It's pretty amazing what
Mhm.
people can do if they're inspired.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I have disabilities, and one thing that cannabis did for me was help me to change my mind. So my journey really started with changing my mind to the positive and deciding I could be healthier and that I could still do things. And for me, the cannabis medicine really enhanced that feeling and helped me to believe that I could do it, and it helped with some symptoms. So for me, it absolutely improved, and continues to improve my quality of life.
It seems
Um,
like also that some of those medications that they use for pain management, things like that, and talk to your doctor. Obviously,
mhm,
that's a big part of it is coming up with that game plan. Someone that is very accepting of cannabis and its uses and its medicinal uses, and come up with a game plan because there's a lot of things that cannabis can take the place of,
mhm.
and with way less setbacks and things like
Side
that that you can
effects.
get side
Mhm,
effects of
mm,
medications
right.
and help your quality of life.
Yeah, for me, I ended up on 16 pharmaceutical drugs, pills and injections, and addicted to opiates and all of it. But a lot of the drugs were given to ameliorate the side effects of another drug,
Yeah.
and that's what happens with a lot of people, that polypharmacy that really can bog you down. Again, we're not physicians, but talk to your doctor, talk to healers and health professionals, and gather your own information as well. And you never know, the quality of life is really the key. We're here for this life, and let's make it the best that we can despite challenges. I mean, we're always going to have some challenges. You may not have particular disabilities or heavy illnesses that are holding you back, or maybe you do. But I think that exploration of finding that balance, and how can I have a life that I can enjoy and feel good about, you know?
Right. And we also got to remember that it's only for the moment right now. You know,
Mhm.
you never know if you could have a disability tomorrow or the next
Right.
day or someone in your family that is. So you got to remember the quality of your life. And not it's a big part of it. You know, I'm talking to a friend that is going through stuff where he's just now being disabled.
Hmm.
And it's an effect on the psyche. You know,
Yes.
it can get you down and depressed, and it can get you to where you kind of want to give up because you're not able to have that quality of life
Hmm.
that you did have.
Right.
But I think some people take it as a challenge, and take it as, hey, I can get up and do this. And I think that is when we find that those people that do that, that have disabilities and make it an ability,
Hmm.
something that they really thrive to show off and say, hey, I overcome this. Seems like those people seem to be the happiest, and even in those moments they can have their moments. So
Sure, right.
and the
It's not, I
quality of life
always
is everything.
say, you know, health and wellness is not a straight line. You know, you may, you know, a lot of diseases wax and wane, and you may feel okay one day and worse the next. But, you know, overall, just look at what you want from your life and know that there are different paths that you can go down to find what will make you happy and enjoy your life. Because that's really what it's
Yes,
all about, you know?
yes, and setting goals for all of that stuff is incredible. You'll be absolutely amazed if the stuff that you write down, and you set those goals for yourself, and that can be things like get off this medication,
Mhm,
or be healthier, or be able to walk up the stairs. Even small things like that that you
mhm.
can teach your body to do if you're capable of doing it, and having that quality of life at any point, and trying to make it something that is worth living for, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of that, coming up next, my interview with Ken Estes. Joining me now is Ken Estes. Ken is a philanthropist, American entrepreneur, and an inspirational testament to the excellence a determined spirit can achieve. At 18 years old, a motorcycle accident left him a quadriplegic. He later became instrumental in changing the landscape of wheelchair accessibility in the world. And in 2003, he introduced the cannabis strain Granddaddy Perp, one of the most distinct and renowned strains in the world. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're
I'm going to
here.
enjoy talk about this. I always talk about cannabis, but there's a chance for me to talk about disabilities and people who are suffering. I mean, we all have a disability.
Mm,
I mean, I always see that.
mm,
I mean, the very few people have I met that I think are so together that they're not suffering from, whether it's mentally or spiritually or bad diets or anger or so many different things you can go on about.
mhm. That's
So
a
I'm glad
really
I get
good
to kind of
point.
talk.
Mhm,
Yeah, so I'm glad I get to talk about disability, and that kind of sharpened my teeth on learning how to do activism. So I really got started with activism with Dan O'Hara, and I was quadriplegic and a wheel and paralyzed from neck down. I was 18. I was in a hospital, and one day this Irish man, "Hey, Ken, how you doing? My name's Dan O'Hara," and I said, "Oh, nice to meet you. What are you doing here?" I was, he was disabled. He came to America. He got off a plane in San Francisco. He got a taxi to Oakland. He got out to use actually caught a bus there, and he went out in the Greyhound bus station in Oakland. And
mhm.
while he was using the urinal, somebody struck him on the back of the head with a board
Oh
and
my gosh.
paralyzed him from the neck down.
Whoa.
He actually did like me. He was incomplete, so he actually got a little arm movement and was able to wheel his own chair around.
Mhm,
And he came to motivate me and to talk to me, and this was kind of something he was doing. He was an activist, and right at that point then we had no disabled parking and there was no wheelchair ramps out or
mm.
anything like that. So we both just connected, and he
Nice.
started coming back to me and talking to me. And I was in Walnut Creek at that time at the hospital, and he actually lived in Walnut Creek too. And he was doing this activism stuff he was telling me about and saying, "Would you like to, work with me on this?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I would love to. Now I'm in the disabled world. I mean, what can I do? I want to help
Mhm,
myself, and I want to, if I can help others." I wasn't really thinking more or less that. I was actually thinking more about helping myself
mhm.
and learn from somebody who kind of knows what they're doing.
Sure.
And
Yeah, it
he was
seems
going. He
like
was
that was sort of meant to be, the two of you teaming up and getting together with similar circumstances, and kind of a spirit to learn more, help yourselves, and in turn help others. I love that.
correct. That was a big inspiration because he was going around speaking places and going around speaking at churches and saying, "How come you guys have to carry me up these stairs, my chair, to get into a church? And
Mhm,
you say that the church is saying everyone has access, and we all want everybody in. But I'm noticing disabled people and wheelchair people outside the church. You come outside to give us a sandwich or talk to us. How come we can't come in?"
mhm.
And he actually decided to wheel his wheelchair across America to Washington, D.C., where he met Ted Kennedy
Mhm.
and news. And every city he went into, there was always news stories. I'd be at home and he would call me up on my phone. I'd talk to him and he'd say, "Oh, I'm in, I'm in Oklahoma now, or I'm in um, wherever, all the different states that he went through, in
Uh-huh.
Mississippi." And it took him, I forget how long, because it's been so long ago, it's in the 70s,
Sure.
but he got there. And when he did get to Washington, D.C., it happened to be at the time when all the churches were there and all the pastors and preachers, and they
Mhm.
had a big meeting in Congress. And Ted Kennedy had known about Dan O'Hara, and he said, "Hey, Dan, come on in here. I want you to speak." He said, "Oh, no, no, yeah, speak in front of this Congress. Come up with
Wow.
me and speak in front of these
Uh-huh.
religious leaders
Mhm.
and tell them about how there's no access to churches and you can't get into churches
Mhm.
and you want to go in there and get the blessing of God and you were a believer and you just feel like you were kind of left out."
Mhm.
So Ted Kennedy backed off and let him speak. And he was, "Yeah, hi everyone. I just wanted to say I don't have access to, that's a bad Irish voice probably, but
Right.
he just said how he didn't have access to the churches
Mhm.
and it really convicted everybody. And it was amazing how him doing that right away, churches began putting wheelchair ramps in
Wow.
and they
See?
all had a meeting to agree to do it. And
Mhm.
it's like one person had that kind of effect.
Right.
And that's when I realized that one person can have an effect.
And it must have had a huge impact on you because you have used your voice for the disabled as well and gotten involved. And you may have started, as you said, for yourself, which there's nothing wrong with that. But then you realize that you can have an impact on others in such a positive way. What are your thoughts now about disability? There's still some stigma attached to it, and there's still access problems some places.
Oh, it's an uphill bite. It's an uphill fight.
Mhm.
Like with my friends of color, with women, with disabled people, we all still have a journey. The
Mhm.
fight's not over. I don't know if we're in the middle of the fight or we're still at the beginning of it, or there's still people who don't really want to have to deal with us, who still kind of see us as lesser than. And
Mhm.
we have to fight this fight to get a right where we get a chance at going to school.
Mhm.
And that's what saved me, was going to college. And back then in California, they had the disability rights, and that whole group is kind of disbanded, and it's not around anymore. But they were able to pay me to go to school.
That's fantastic. You went through school after you became a quadriplegic, obviously, because you were just 18 when this
Yeah,
happened. Uh,
yeah, correct.
so you
Well,
had.
I lived in old folks' home. That's where, I mean, I was the youngest guy there. It was all old people, but
Mhm.
there was a wheelchair. The woman that worked there said, "Hey, I'll see if I can get you into here to get a place to live." And the community college was just down the street.
Mhm.
So I actually wheeled to school every day,
Wow.
and whether it was rain or what.
Mhm.
And so I went to these and I began to speak and explain why I wanted this scholarship. And there wasn't many disabled people at school at that time.
Mhm.
So I was able to probably brought in $2,000 to $3,000 a month just on grants and scholarships,
Wow.
which kept me going to school. And in fact, I thought, man, I want to go to school forever. I mean, it's like I feel safe here.
Uh-huh.
I get paid to go.
Right.
I was a journalism major, an English major. I eventually went to Hayward State.
Nice.
And
Nice.
but then again, I had a friend who said, "Hey, I've got some money from my accident. Would you like to do business together?"
Mhm.
So then I looked into tanning and hair salons for some reason. I said, "Hey, we can spend 50,000 and we can do this." So I was activist with O'Hara,
Uh-huh.
and I actually had my own business.
Nice.
So then I got out of college and began making money.
Nice. That's
So
that's an amazing story and inspirational for all of us, really. So you've also spent most of your adult life fighting for the legalization of cannabis and developing cannabis strains for medical use. Um, and you went through multiple raids on your gardens and
oh, yeah.
dispensaries. You've been through a lot, and you brought us Granddaddy Perp, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Um, so, what are your thoughts about cannabis and disability and cannabis as a businessman, and disabled man, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, disabilities, I don't think I would have got through it without cannabis because when I was first injured, I was in a rehabilitation center in Vallejo, which had a lot of Vietnam vets there.
Mhm,
And I didn't really use marijuana. They had me on a handful of pills
mhm,
and I just wasn't sleeping. And I felt horrible. So I really turned to the Vietnam vets who told me, come over here and smoke this. I said, what? Marijuana?
mhm.
Oh, what the hell? I'm on pills anyway. Let's try it. And I felt medicinal benefits immediately.
Wow.
And it really changed my life. And then that was in the 70s when I started smoking Colombian Gold, Panama Red, Thai Stick, Skunk. These were such medicinal strains that I really realized in an early age and right there early in my disability that this was actually helping my recovery more than the pills. So
Mhm,
I began preaching right away, talking to my doctors, talking to other patients, saying, try this herb, try this. And I really recognized how it was helping a lot of people's quality of life
mhm.
using the cannabis instead of alcohol. Because legally they said, oh, just drink. I had people tell me, here, just have a couple shots. This will help you.
Hmm.
And it kind of did. It took me out of my funk,
Sure.
but it didn't have no long-term really benefits. The
Mhm.
cannabis was like total medicinal. Smoking, oh, I feel good. I want to like study. I want to go to school. I want
Right.
to do things. I began to feel motivated, all because of cannabis.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that. It actually motivated you, helped you to stay focused and achieve your goals. There's so much stigma surrounding cannabis, and people think, it'll kill your brain cells, it'll make you, just lying on the couch and not motivated. But you didn't see that. Your quality of life improved, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, I noticed right away that I think that the people who are unmotivated and lazy, they already bring that to the table. It's not really cannabis that does that. I
Mhm.
was noticing that those of us who were kind of motivated and worked hard, cannabis was just a part of something that kind of helped me with my physical pain of sitting in a wheelchair all day long. I
Mhm.
could go to my apartment or go out to my vehicle in the middle of the day, have a hit. Ah, felt better, go back to school, do
Mhm.
my homework. So there was a total medicinal benefit I couldn't ignore where I just talked to everyone and told everybody. And people would do like you said, would like, come on, man, you're like gonna be on dope, dude. You're gonna be like
Mhm.
brain dead,
Mhm.
and it was like that wasn't really what happened at all.
Right. That's important. It's a very important point. So, would you say where cannabis, quality of life, and disability kind of intersect is a really positive thing?
Oh, it totally had me turned around.
Mhm.
I wanted to go to school. I felt motivated. I wasn't depressed. I didn't feel the anxiety of not sleeping right, of not eating right. I used to tell people back in the early days that there are two things you need when you're recovering from an illness or injury, and that is sleeping and eating.
Mhm.
If you can't deal with those two, then you're going to have a hard time.
Right.
And cannabis dealt with both those issues. I would
For
sleep all
sure.
night and feel good. I didn't have nightmares that I had after my accident. Kind of the accident happening in my head and the disability and the stress and the way people looked at me. And after I was doing the cannabis, I just wasn't really caring too much.
Mhm.
And I kind of just started focusing on myself and self-love
Mhm.
and trying to educate myself so that I could actually participate and maybe get a job and maybe make a living.
Mhm.
And later down the road, I started meeting different women and I would start dating and I started
Nice.
realizing I could have sex. After about 6 years into my accident,
Mhm.
a woman that I was with was experimenting with me and wow, I was able to ejaculate again. And I
Nice.
was like, oh my God. Oh, this was one of my biggest depressed things that
Sure.
maybe I wouldn't find a girlfriend. Maybe I don't get to experience sexual contact.
Mhm.
And then I did. And that was like totally turned my life around too, because now I, then later I got a woman pregnant and then I had children and I was told I couldn't do that.
Talk about quality of life. Brought to you by cannabis.
Yes, yeah, I really have. I used to start city council meetings back when I was fighting for cannabis, and the city council meeting, my beginning argument was, or statement at speaking at city councils was, medical marijuana saved my life.
Mhm.
And people back then was like, oh, that was a pretty strong statement.
Mhm.
And then I would explain how it did it. And I did notice city council members and people in the audience quiet, listening to me. So it was having an impact on people.
For sure. For sure. It's such an inspirational story and also a testament to, sometimes in mainstream medicine, allopathic doctors, they tell people these things, you may never walk again, or you may never have children. They don't even say you may, they
No,
say
no, they tell you you're not.
you're
Yeah,
not going to, right?
they actually convince you. They want you to be convinced, which I was, but
Mhm.
I didn't give up. That was kind of what cannabis did to me too. It caused me to quit giving up. Do you want to try this or not? Do you want to die? I did kind of,
Mhm.
but there was a point in my life I finally said, no, I don't. I'll do this. I'll try. There's other people doing it. There are people even worse than me, I was noticing. So
Mhm.
what am I complaining about? Let me pick up my luggage and let me get back on the road. Let
You're
me go to
giving me
school.
goosebumps, Ken. This is, we make our lives what I've always believed this. We manifest what we want. And many times people don't realize that, and they're manifesting what they don't want. We're told these things from all different angles. And it really depends on your own beliefs and the will to keep going forward, and we see that in your life so beautifully. Thank you so much for giving us this shining example.
No, I don't know where that fighter in me came, but when it did show itself,
Mhm.
I all of a sudden did become a fierce fighter, working for disabled rights, being outspoken, telling people that, it's not me on cannabis they should be worried about. It's that you guys drinking too much alcohol, taking too much pills.
Mhm.
There's things worse than this. And they would say, no, that's got to be the worst, man. If I was you, dude, I'd want to be dead. And I say, yeah, I understand that. I kind of felt the same way, but I realized I have one life and I
Mhm.
really don't want to be dead. I actually want to try to live it to
Mhm.
the fullest. No matter what I have, I want to try to have as much fulfillment as I can get. And then I felt like I achieved it from having girlfriends to having children to having a job to making money to
Mhm.
having friends to being able to go to concerts, go to movies, go out to nice restaurants. It's like, wow, I'm living a pretty fulfilled life. In fact, I started realizing that my physical disability in a wheelchair, even without gripping my hands, and I'm struggling so bad, I would watch people looking at me. But I realized that a lot of people with depression and mental illness, bipolar, with certain things they're dealing with, anger,
Mhm.
I would rather sit in my wheelchair and not be in their body that's walking around
Mhm.
because of the torment they're going through emotionally and in their own head and the
Mhm.
hate they have. And I didn't really feel all that. So I really felt like cannabis really helped me find that spot where I wasn't
Beautiful.
a hater
Mhm.
and I wanted to live and I wanted to inspire.
Well, you've definitely done that. So where can people get in touch with you?
You can go to Instagram, Ken's GDP, or Facebook. And I have a friend, Jamal, who works with me, and I'm up in the mountains with no Wi-Fi,
Oh,
and I live
goodness.
on a farm up there.
Uh-huh.
So right now I have him looking at the Facebook and giving me comments from people every day, and I'm always reaching out to people every day that
Nice.
reach out to me. So you can look at me up on Facebook, Ken Estes, to
Well,
reach out
thank
to
you. All
people.
of your contributions for disabled people, for cannabis, for medicine. It's just so inspiring. And thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure, Wendy. Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Joining me now is our Food is Medicine Minute creator, cannabis educator, and advocate, Miss Teddy. Welcome, Miss Teddy. So
Thank you for having me.
today we're talking about quality of life, and I wanted to get your take. So we're talking about cannabis, quality of life, and disability. And I wondered how you feel about has cannabis improved your quality of life? And if so, in what way?
Not only has it improved my quality of life, it literally gave me life.
Hmm.
So when I was in Texas, cannabis was so very, very illegal.
Mhm.
And they just had me pumped so full of pharmaceuticals that I was really close to 400 pounds. When I moved down here and started using it medicinally and learning about it and having access to what I needed, I started losing weight. It actually gave me a career. You know, it opened my eyes. Very grateful that I did find cannabis and continue to pursue it, because when I was in the treatment center in Texas, they wanted me to admit that cannabis was part of my problem, and my mom and I would both refuse. You know, it's like my mom would say, no, all the other drugs are the problem. Cannabis was helping her.
Right.
You know, so let's not try to do that. And so my mom was on the understanding that as soon as I got out of the treatment center, I was still going to continue with cannabis.
I think there's still a lot of stigma amongst some parts of our health system, whether it's, you know, in the addiction section or some physicians. There's just not enough education to health professionals presently. So I'm glad you stood your ground, because if you know that it's actually helping you to have a better life, you know, sometimes you have to take a stand and say, no, that's not what's happening, what you're telling me. I'm so glad that you did that.
I've been doing that since I was 16. So I've been advocating for cannabis ever since I was 16. My mom right along with me. So she has supported me ever since I was 16, because she did see that it changed the quality of life. I mean, I was prescribed methamphetamine when I was 12 years old because of my weight. And then when they took me off the methamphetamine, you know, you're going through some sort of depression because you're off of that methamphetamine. So they wanted to give me Valium back then, because I think that's one of the only sedative ones they had. And we're talking a 12 and a 13-year-old child that they're prescribing speed and then Valium because she's too hyper because we gave her speed. So let's give her Valium so she can sleep at night.
That's the trap of pharmaceuticals. Often, you know, one pill leads to another pill because you have to take care of the side effects of the first pill. And it sounds like as an adult, once you're in Texas where cannabis was not legal, it's still not, it's such a minute amount that's legal even now. You know, it sounds like you kind of got in that pharmaceutical trap again in your life. You know, so now that you're in a state where now it's fully legal in New Mexico, right? At least you have that access to the medicine that really seems to help you have a quality of life. So
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this show. Your FIMM's coming up in a little while, and we're so delighted to have you on the Edge Show every week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I love being part of it. And congratulations on the Black Apple Award.
Yes, and congratulations to you. It belongs to all of us, and we're very excited to now be the award-winning Edge Show. Thanks for chatting with me, Miss Teddy. Joining me now is Courage in Cannabis author, cannabis advocate, and activist, Candy Flores. Welcome to the show, Candy.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. It's great to see your face. We did a recent interview that was audio only, so it's really nice to connect your face with your voice.
Likewise.
Thank you. So today we're talking about disability, quality of life, and cannabis. And I wondered with your story, if you feel the quality of life for you has improved.
Yes, most definitely. I'd say my quality of life is definitely way better than it was before. No longer taking medication, so I'm able to function on a daily basis.
That's really important. So since you started using cannabis as your medicine instead of a collection of pharmaceutical drugs, you've seen that change.
Yes, most definitely. I'm able to be my individual self. You know, I'm not exactly as I was before, but very close and able to be, you know, the person I was before, being a mother, a daughter, a friend. It's amazing what drastic changes it did at the beginning, and it continues to do on a daily basis.
So tell me a little bit about Courage in Cannabis, because I wonder if you ever saw yourself as an author prior to this, or if this has impacted the quality of your life, being able to come forward with your story.
So I'd say it helped a lot with the healing and coming forward, you know, and just, I know I was open about it already, but when this happened, it was just like, it was a little shocking because it was then now public to the world.
Sure, right.
Not just, you know, my loved ones and my friends. It was everyone, you know.
Right, really coming out of the canna closet.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
Basically, you know, it got real.
Yes. Yeah.
But yes, most definitely. I thank Dr. Bridget for that. Like I said, it does help the healing process as well, because not only is it a daily thing that we go through, as you may know, for, you know, us sufferers, it's, the fight's not over. We fight with our illness, with our individual illnesses daily. And at times, you know, it could bring, you know, dark demons or dark, you know, dark areas in life. And being able to function with cannabis, it helps, you know, stay away from those days and be able to be the person that we want to be. Yes,
I love that. Thank you for sharing your story. And where could people get in touch with you if they want more information?
They can find me on Facebook under Candy Flores, or on Instagram as well.
Excellent. And the book is called Courage in Cannabis. It's an anthology, and you can read some of Candy's story in there, and we'll look for more in the future. So thanks so much for joining me today.
Miss Teddy here with your Food is Medicine Minute. We are talking about better quality of life and disabilities, and using cannabis, and if it makes a better quality of life. And I know that using food is medicine definitely can make your quality of life a lot better than what it is if you're not using food as medicine. For instance, sugar. Sugar can cause inflammation, which can cause a lot of pain. And so if you eat a lot of sugar, you are not having a good quality of life, because you are probably in a lot of pain from inflammation. So if you add a lot of leafy greens and some fruits in the mix, you are definitely going to have a better quality of life. So make sure to use food as medicine instead of food as pleasure. For more information on food as medicine, please feel free to contact me at Learn from Teddy on Facebook. Thank you.
It was so great chatting with Ken Estes, Candy Flores, Miss Teddy, about quality of life, just amazing stories. And gosh, Miss Teddy's been really busy. Today we're recording on the day that New Mexico passed or implemented their recreational program. And
how amazing is that? So there's recreational in New Mexico.
There is.
Way to go, guys. Way to go.
Yes, yes. And for some reason, the CBD shops are crazy busy too. I think everyone's just out looking for any kind of cannabis they can find.
Someone give them the memo that they're not gonna. They can probably smoke a lot of that. I don't know where they're gonna get. They're gonna be very healthy.
Yes, there you go. Oh man. So you know, I got out of the house and to a music show.
Speaking of round of applause, you got out. You finally got to see some music, some live music.
Yes.
I got to see a couple videos from you out enjoying all those bands.
Yes.
And it reminded me that some of those bands played out at the festival that you threw a while back.
Yes, some of my favorites, of course. Rachel Ammons is just phenomenal. I don't even know what else to say about it.
Yeah, I don't know if she's human. Sometimes I just look at her, I'm like, is she
Uh-huh.
Is she an alien?
Right.
She knows something that we don't. She's just so amazing. It's incredible to watch her play.
So Rachel Ammons performed, and then of course the lovely Rochelle Bradshaw and Hypnotion. She's just amazing to watch as well.
Yes,
And
and her outfit was it was glow in the dark, like it had lights on it. It was
it
pretty amazing.
did.
It had
Yes, that
technology in it.
yes. So I actually helped to figure that costume out together with Trisha Gooding from Out of Hand Collective. They're kind of two of my artistic partners in crime here in
I remember
Fayetteville.
Wendy was with the one that was said, you know what this dress needs? Batteries. It needs lights and batteries.
Well, I can't take credit. Trisha Gooding, her hashtag is light up my life. And so if you're looking for, an artist that adds light, Trisha's definitely your woman. But the cool thing was Rochelle had a handheld pack where she could change the color of the lights on her dress.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so
So
awesome.
she's feeling blue. It's yeah,
Yes.
she's
And I don't know if you noticed, but she had a sword also that had some magnetic or some tape on it that was hit the lights as well. I don't know if everyone realized she had a machete on her dress. We just need a little warrior woman always with Trisha as well.
that is awesome. It's just I'm sure it was. Did you get that moment where they're playing and you're just like, wow, this is happening? Like I got that the first time I kind of got back into an indoors venue.
Yeah, I was a little choked up really, and I'm looking forward to more shows coming up for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of shows, we lost an amazing artist and Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters. And a sad point is that he died of addiction, of an overdose. And we see this all the time in the rock world is, it's kind of comes with the territory, some people think. And but it doesn't, I think it comes with the territory of being in America, not just being a rock star nowadays. So many people are dealing with opioid addiction, whether it be, and a lot of the time, most of the time, it's not even their fault. It could be a doctor's fault or something through that. So a lot of people are dealing with the same thing that the Foo Fighters family is, and all the people that knew him. And so it's we paid tribute, as I'm on a radio station, we paid tribute to Taylor. I want to suggest something. Now, this is two buds way up for the song, right? BBC did a release of a song, a Foo Fighters song during the pandemic, and everyone was kind of in their own spaces and doing the video concerts and stuff. Well, they did this recording of all these artists that were holed up in their houses, and they sang one of Dave Grohl, one of Foo Fighters songs. Taylor Hawkins is featured in it, and he is playing the lava lamp.
No.
He's playing a lava
Oh
lamp.
my gosh.
And but it's such an amazing video. So you can look it up on YouTube or Spotify, and it's under BBC Foo Fighters Times Like These.
Okay.
BBC Foo Fighters Times Like These.
Thank you for that.
It's absolutely amazing. It'll probably bring some tears to your eyes, but it just was so inspiring me to listen to earlier this week. And I added it to our playlist for tribute to Taylor Hawkins. And
awesome.
Want to remind people that cannabis is a great one for that one.
It is. It got me off the opiates for sure.
Yes. I hope that people that are dealing with this can see that, hey, maybe I should make a change. Maybe there is a way that I can make my quality of life better.
Yes, for sure. Talking about quality of life, that's definitely included. And we all grieve for this loss, and really the best we can hope for is that we can all learn from it and keep moving forward with solutions, for sure. And coming up next, Dr. Brian Nichol will pair a cannabis strain with our musical guest.
I'm Dr. Brian Nichol, your cannabis expert for CannabisExpertMD.com, with a music and cannabis pairing for the Edge Show. This week's musical guest are the Sherms. Now, they're from Fayetteville, Arkansas. They're a kind of a rock punk kind of sound with a little bit of a pop edge to it also. They're composed of the brothers Tim and Steve Sherman on guitars, Timon McGuire, he's on the drums, and Ken Barr plays the bass. Now, there's a rumor that the band may be releasing their first album quite soon with the rapid release of videos recently. Kind of portends something big is going to be happening soon. I listened to Paper Dolls. Now, this was written by Tim. It starts off with vocals over a single guitar. Then the rest of the very tight band joins in. Perfect rhythm, sweet backup vocals, solid lead guitar work. It's very, very well recorded and produced at Crisp Recording in Fayetteville. Paper Dolls, it's about, I don't know, perhaps relationships not being exactly what they seem. For this, I was looking for an energizing strain to really keep up with the fast pace of the music, but enough of a chill to it to deal with the topic at hand. For this, I selected, based on the cannabinoid terpene profiles I have available, Natural State Medicinal's White Widow. White Widow is pretty potent at 18.3% total THC. A little bit of trace CBD is present there. Terpenes show a nice potent 2.38%. It is terpinolene dominant at 1.08%. Beta-caryophyllene is up next at 0.46%. Limonene, myrcene, and pinene, they all come in right at about 0.2 to 0.25% each. There is a little bit of humulene in there at 0.12%. Now, White Widow with the myrcene speeding the THC effects, it should give you a nice quick cerebral buzz to that. Then the myrcene is going to settle down with that terpinolene to give you a bit of a relaxed, kind of chill base. That's a good thing, too, because the pinene comes up next, and that's going to give you quite a bit of energy and focus. The limonene present, that's going to give you a bit of a mood lift and chase some of the blues away. The beta-caryophyllene might help with some depression, and the humulene might keep you out of the cookie jar just a little bit. Now, White Widow, this should be a very, very energizing strain at low to moderate doses. A bit more chill in the higher dose range. You really need to avoid this one if you are prone to having anxiety or panic attacks, as it may make things worse. For more information on all things medical cannabis, be sure to check us out at CannabisExpertMD.com. We're also available on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter under Cannabis Expert MD. Now I present to you the Sherms with Paper Doll.
Love of these paper dolls I see on your bedroom walls, and I cry at night. I'm waiting for faces to change. And it was the best of game that took my best friend's brain, and I cry at night. I'm waiting for somebody else to come by. I live with a paper doll. Cloud, I wish everyone would stand near. Everyone's thinking that my constant drinking's been pushing my sweet baby dear. I live with a paper doll. I wish everyone would stand near. Everyone's thinking that my constant drinking been pushing my sweet baby dear. I live with a paper doll.
Hi, I'm Candice Dyer,
And I'm Wendy Love Edge.
and this is Mile High News.
Well, Candice, what article do you have for us this week?
Well, Wendy, we are definitely getting some breaking news and seeing some positive progress in the MORE Act. Today's article is out of Forbes. The U.S. House of Representatives passed the federal cannabis legalization bill, the MORE Act.
Wow, that's great news. I know it's passed before, but it's great to see some forward-moving progress to ending cannabis prohibition.
Exactly. The article states that U.S. House of Representatives passed the MORE Act, a bill that would end the federal prohibition on cannabis by removing it from the list of ban-controlled substances. This is the second time that the bill has passed the House. However, it will be facing a strong headwind in the Senate. The Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement, or MORE Act, was introduced by House Judiciary Chairman Gerald Nadler. It passed 220 yay, 204 nay votes. Cannabis is legal for adult use in 19 states and for medical use in 36 states. This bill would end the federal ban, but leave it up to the state to decide.
Wow. Well, I think that this is a really important piece of legislation. I know it's been to the House before and it didn't pass through the Senate, but even if we don't agree with certain parts of it, at least it's a step forward to ending prohibition, and it can be built upon from there,
Definitely. That's right. We know until it's legal federally, it really isn't legal anywhere.
Right.
So it's so important that this bill pass. Hopefully the Senate will listen to the American people like they're supposed to. 91% of Americans want some form of cannabis to be legal, and they're more important priorities cops should be focused on. Law enforcement cannot afford to chase all these small pot cases any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the MORE Act is thought to have an uphill battle with the Senate. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, like I said, it's passed the House before, and the last time the Senate didn't even vote on it. I don't even know how that happens. It seems like if a bill is presented by the House that it should be voted upon, but I know that didn't happen the last time.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senators Cory Booker and Ron Wyden are planning to finally formally introduce their bill, the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, later this month. Unfortunately, it looks to me like they are competing with each other on what bill that they're going to let go through instead of being worried about the millions of lives that need cannabis to survive. They all need to wake up and look at what matters here, the American people. They say that they want cannabis as an option.
Yes, so true. Like you said, 92% want some form of legalization. The American people want it. The people in Congress work for us. So let's get moving here. Doesn't matter. The partisan stuff is not going to help us at all. We just need to get this done. Yeah.
Exactly, for sure. This has been Mile High News on The Edge Show. Stay lit, everyone.
Well, what a great show it's been. Do you have any final thoughts about quality of life, disability, and cannabis?
You know, a lot of people deal with disabilities, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, that you never know. And through this life, everyone's going to have some disabilities. Eventually, if you're living older, you're going to deal with things that are ups and downs, and everyone has grieving processes for things like this. Everyone has to deal with things like this, and know that there's things out there that can help you, and cannabis can definitely be one of those. Talk to your doctor and see if that's something that that works with your plan. But the quality of life is everything when it comes to your life. How do you want to live it, and how do you want it to play out? It's your choice when you get to do that. It's your movie, even if you have a disability. So I encourage you to do that, and know that people are cheering you on, and that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. You can still keep on getting up and going. And so many people with disabilities have shown that and shown the way. And so I encourage you to do the same.
Yes, great points. You know, I think when we talk about quality of life, you know, we're talking about relationships and, you know, work, perhaps, you know, leisure pursuits, you know, all the things that are components of your life. And sometimes when you have illness, it's easy to kind of isolate yourself, especially we just have been through this pandemic where everyone spent much time isolated. And if you have illnesses, that can be even harder, right? So I think one of the key components for me, when I was very ill and sort of isolated, you know, I changed my mind, I started moving forward, and part of my wellness plan was to leave the house every day. And it sounds really simple, and well, how can that improve your quality of life? But it does wonders. Even so, mainly because you have to get washed and dressed, right? Yeah. And get out of the house. And maybe when you're just going to the corner store because it's part of your plan, so you don't have anywhere really to go, but you just go to the corner store and you see someone you know, or maybe you just pick up something that you wouldn't have had at home if you didn't make it out the door. And little by little, the quality of life starts to improve just by that small change. So I think that's my advice for everyone, really. Just take small steps, and that might be just getting out of the house once every day.
I love that. Get up. That's the thing. Get up and start moving. Make that, maybe if it's even just 1 foot forward. And I think you have that. That's a great approach, Wendy. I think that's awesome. It does get better. And there are ways that if you start those steps, and here we go, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Well, have a great week, everyone. Bye. The Ed Show is sponsored in part by Candis Healthcare, The Relevant App, Lit Premium Smoking Supplies, 131 Inclusion Gallery, Irie Bliss Wellness, The Balm Cannabis Body Care, Lindsay Camp with Synergy One Lending, Off Leash Canine Training, and Green Harvest Health, inviting you to reclaim your wellness.